Hello everyone, it's Davide here and welcome back to Learning Finance. In today's video guys, I want to talk about Square, so Square stock, ticker symbol SQ, which has had earnings released Q4 yesterday and the full fiscal year for 2020, and the stock is down a bit. We have seen crashes up until 230 in the day, and honestly, earnings, yes, they were okay, but I was expecting something more, right? Anyway, we are gonna talk about that and what am I gonna do with my position? Am I gonna buy more or just hold or sell, whatever? So the only thing I ask you is please leave me a like, it's very important and I thank you for it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new updates. Let's begin. So let's take a look at Square. Now, we had a top 283.19. You know that my basically highest price target has always been 290 for Square. Basically since this summer, if you are following my channel. And we have basically hit this target, very near to this target. And then, boom, we went down. Together with the market overall, the last couple of days has been quite crazy in terms of volatility, and now we are around 242, so we touched down at 230 and now we are bouncing back. So here we have the document Q4 2020. If you just want to read all of that, just go to Square Investors Relations and it's the last update that you find on the site. So Q4 2020 we had 804 million in gross profit. This is up 52% compared with the previous Q4 of 2019. We see that the Cash App main gross profit was basically 377 million in Q4, adjusted EBITDA 185 million. And then when it comes to basically the seller's gross profit, 427 millions, and the net income for Q4 is 294. However, as they say over there, the net income is basically including 274 million related to equity investments, right? So in terms of the business itself, you should take 294 minus 274. So the net income is still pretty low for Square. The end results for the Cash App monthly active users is 36 million in December 2020, which went up a lot since the previous year, 24 million, 15 million in 2019. So in just a couple of years has done more than 100%. But let's not waste time reading all that stuff. If you want to read it, just go on and read it. But in my opinion, what's important is the bottom of this document, as always. What comes later is always the most important part. And here we have the results. So 3 months ended December 31st, 2020 versus the previous 3 months. And we can see how, first of all, transaction-based revenue. Now, if you remember from my previous video, what I told you is that you must consider these two divisions, transactions-based revenues and subscription and services-based revenue, because those two are the golden divisions for Square. Why? Because of the margins are the two most profitable divisions, while Bitcoin has ridiculous margins and the hardware part is actually losing money. So those two are the most important parts, and we can see that compared with the previous years, in terms of transactions, we didn't do that much of a jump, okay, in the 3 months ended. While we did pretty great with subscriptions and services-based revenue, which is the most profitable part of the business, with around 85% in gross margins, from 281.4 million to 449.37 million. So that's a great jump. Other revenue has done ridiculously bad. But anyway, it's a part of the division which is used to actually increase these other two, right? So that's why they keep it. And the Bitcoin revenue. Now, here is the thing, guys. Look at that. From the previous December to now. This is how much? A 10x. The problem once again is how much Square is related to Bitcoin revenue. Now, the total amount has been 3.15 billion. Honestly, I was expecting a little bit more. Now, if you remember from my previous video, when I did here the estimate, I put 10 billion in total for 2020. The reality is that Square has achieved basically 9.5 billion. I was short with that estimate. I was hoping to get surprised about it, especially from the transaction-based revenue, which I know they have been hit because of the pandemic, as we are gonna see just in a few seconds. Big part of the transaction-based revenue is actually from physical sellers. Now, the problem is that with Square Online and also the online e-commerce of Square, basically I was expecting that, especially with the Christmas stuff, so the holidays, I was expecting more of a push from that side. Kind of disappointed a bit about these results. Now, this is something that, in my opinion, is important to take a look at. This page, operating segment disclosures. And this is where basically you can actually understand for real the Square business. And the problem is that, in my opinion, I like to watch Square without considering Bitcoin revenue. When we take a look at the revenues by including Bitcoin revenues, then Square has done 100% from 2019. Now, the problem is that Square, in terms of revenue itself, has made in 2020 more with Bitcoin than how much he made 1 year ago. Not more, but very similar. So 4.7 was the total result of 2019. 4.57 billion is the total result of the Bitcoin revenue alone in 2020. So that's significant, but as I told you, I love to see those two divisions going higher. And when we take a look at this, transactions-based revenue, we have the 3-month ended and the year ended. And what's interesting about it is that it divides you the division from the cash up to the seller. As we can see, in terms of transaction-based revenue, for the year ended, the part related to the cash up is 233.7 million, compared with 1 year before it was just 72 million. So obviously cash up went up a lot, and that's great for the business. But look at that, the seller not related to cash up, 3.06 billion in 2020, 3.008 in 2019. Now, obviously, you have to consider the pandemic. But what I want to see going on in 2021 as the pandemic hopefully will go away is that I want to see this part increase. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I'm not gonna be confident anymore. If I don't see this going up together with this, I want to see these two divisions becoming a bigger part of Square business and not just the Bitcoin revenue. Subscriptions and services based revenue. We have that for 2020, 1.53 billion. It went up from the previous year of 885 million, so that's a huge increase, and I like that. As we can see, basically a lot of it is driven by the cash app, but that's fair enough. It's why it is there. The seller part basically stayed quite flat. Now, considering once again the pandemic, this is not a bad result. Anyway, what I want to see is this part of the business continuing to grow for real. So they have to start to grow again in 2021 as the pandemic is going away. And obviously the cash app, if it continues on that pace, will be alright. Just remember that we have seen a lot of competitors coming on. So when we go to the spreadsheet, what we see is that for the total result, this is what I don't like much. Transaction-based revenue. We went from 31.87, it has been declining, and now look at that, just 6.94. Most of it is explained by the pandemic, because the online part has not been able to actually offset completely the losses from the pandemic, from the real world. Anyway, that number has to go higher. Otherwise, guys, it doesn't make sense anymore. When it comes to subscriptions and services and revenue, we see that the growth is still there, however, is way lower than how it was before. So 49.25% Bitcoin. That's the thing. It's all about Bitcoin right now. But as I told you, I want to see these two golden divisions going higher. Now, if you remember from my previous video, the valuation I did, there are two different stuff. First of all, I was short here, not be able to top 10 billion. We have basically done just 9.5. Well, when it comes to EBITDA margin, we have the Square as adjusted EBITDA of 474 million. So with 9.5, it's almost 5% in adjusted EBITDA. Now that's interesting. So what am I gonna do now? The thing is that if you remember my previous analysis, I warned you about how these kind of stocks are priced for perfection. So the growth involved in this kind of valuation is pretty high. But what also this valuation involves is that Square will continue to increase EBITDA. Now, the thing is that if you don't have these two business divisions, which are the most profitable ones, if you don't have those continuing to grow exponentially, this huge Bitcoin part, in my opinion, is not something that you really want to pay your investment into. Because when it comes to profitability, the Bitcoin division sucks. So the Bitcoin division is perfectly fine if the users that you get with it are gonna also spend in different stuff in order to increase the two main divisions of Square. If that happens, let's say 2021 pandemic goes away, we see this division continuing to grow at a higher pace, not like that, and then the subscriptions and services based revenue continue to grow as well, then Square can remain a stock to own. Because when we take a look at the EBITDA, I told you, look, PayPal, the EBITDA margin 30, right? So MasterCard, Visa, all of that are way higher than Square. The average is 47.59, but I told you, let's just consider 17%, right? And with that valuation, by adjusting for the earnings that they reported, we still have that the fair price of Square today, it can be 256.24, very near where we are right now. The problem is that, guys, if going on in the future, we see that those divisions are not able to grow consistently at a higher rate, and then it's all about Bitcoin, in my opinion, I'm not gonna feel comfortable to actually add more shares. So I have always been bullish on Square since the summer. I was very confident when the stock was around $100 because I knew that the fair price was gonna be higher than that. Anyway, at this price, after seeing these earnings, well, I don't feel comfortable to actually put more money into it. I'm just gonna remain stuck with my position, it's fine, but I will pay attention to the next earnings and how the business itself will do. Hopefully, once this pandemic is going away, I want to see those two divisions continue to make money, because otherwise, guys, it becomes too risky. So that's what I think about the stock. I hope you find the video interesting, guys. Leave me a like. Leave me a comment below, tell me what do you think about it. Have you added more shares or not? Subscribe to the channel, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.